Well, hello everybody. I am back. This is Shawn Petite for part 2 of creating with yupo. We're going to create 2 really fun projects today. So today I've taken one of the pieces that we created last week and I'm taking a look at it and making sure that there aren't any changes that I want to make to it. And since I've decided that I like it just the way that it is, I'm going to seal it. And I'm taking fluid matte medium and I'm going to put 2 coats of this on there. I'm going to let the first one dry completely and then put a second coat. Right now what you see is I'm just spreading my matte medium over the top, and I've got a nice healthy coverage on there, and I'm laying my paper towel down to kind of soak up some of that extra, but also it gives it a really good texture, the paper towel imprint, and I like that so that it's not just super flat and shiny. And the matte medium dries to a really matte finish. So now I'm just taking my sheet, and I'm not being very technical at all about this. I just folded it in half and found out where the half mark was and cut it in half, and then folded it over to see which side I liked the best, because I'm going to cut some papers down that are just going to be smaller than that actual cover size. We're going to be making a journal, and cut my papers down to fit inside of it. And I'm not precise at all. I don't really care about that kind of stuff, so if you do, you can definitely measure. Now I'm going to put those 2 pieces together, those 2 pieces of yupo that I've cut together, with some regular gel matte. Now it's heavy, it's thick, it's a glue-like substance. And I put a good coat on there, and this does take some time to dry because the yupo is non-porous. It will take some time to dry. So I get all the gel medium on there, and then I put those 2 pieces together, and I'm just double checking to make sure that I have it the right way. I brayer out any extra medium so that it dries perfect. And the really great thing about yupo is that it doesn't warp, it doesn't bubble, it's perfect for this application. You can see that I had a clip on the corner. I let it dry folded so that it would bend and move as my journal would move, and then I just trimmed up the edges. I'm just stamping with one of Donna Downey's itty bitty stamps. I love those stamps. The sayings are great. And again, I'm putting that down with some gel medium. Now I knew that I didn't want just that bright white paper, and I just used some scratch paper. So I took my gel medium and I put a little bit of high flow paint into it, and it's the sepia color, and it makes this beautiful glaze, and I just love it. So then I added just a tiny bit of modeling paste to that mixture and brought out my wildflower stencil and put that over the top there just to add a little bit and to fill in some of that blank space. And then I'm just edging the edges with some archival ink. And the yupo for this application is just wonderful because it feels like leather. It is easy to move, it bends, it doesn't bubble, it looks like a actual piece of leather. It's fantastic. Now I'm just doing some shading and just to blend that back into my journal cover. Now I've got it's a small hole punch, a very small hole punch, and I'm punching 2 holes right next to each other, right along the spine. And I'm going to take some stretchy elastic and run along. I've got a long piece of that stretchy plastic, and I go in through the first hole, and I leave some space so that I can have some tail to tie, then go back through the hole into the middle, back out, and then back in. It's a simple way to create some elastic so that you can put your signatures in that you can take out. And you can Google it on YouTube. There's plenty of instructions on how to create this type of journal. And I created some signatures. I just sewed some signatures together. Now I'm taking that same hole punch, and you're going to see me struggle just a little bit with this. This is also stretchy elastic, and I had a hard time getting it through the hole, so I just made the hole a little bit bigger and then tied a knot in it. I made sure that the elastic fit around the edge, tied a knot in it, and it was good to go. Look at how cute this is. And there's so many things that you can do with this. But I wanted to show you how amazing that yupo works for a journal cover. This is going to go in my purse, and it's going to take the beating of rolling around in my purse and everyday life, and I just think that you could, there's so many applications that you could use for journal making with yupo. So now I've got another page that we created last week, and I'm not quite satisfied with it. So before I seal it, I'm going to come back in, and this is what is wonderful about yupo. So these have sat for quite some time before I got back to them, and I'm just taking some alcohol on a paper towel, and I'm coming back in and lifting back up anything that I want. Add a little bit more interest and highlight and more design, different things like that. You can take a Q-tip even and draw into it if it's soaked with alcohol. There's just all kinds of fun stuff that you can do. And I'm using two of my stencils. This is the geographic leaf stencil and number stencil, and then I went back in with Donna Downey's stencil and just kind of added to that original design that I did. And I'm just trying to add some different interest on the outside edges of my page. And what I'm going to do is actually put that into my journal. It's a 9x12, and I work in a 9x12 journal all the time. So here, now that I've got it to where I want it, and I don't want to take up any other paint, I'm going to seal it twice again with that matte medium. So I'm going to take my, and I did cut off a little bit of that page so that it fit on in my journal, but save all of those scraps. Those are valuable yupo scraps that will work in any project. I'm using my gel medium again to put that down, and again, this will take a little bit of time to dry, not as long as the journal cover because the paper is porous. And so now I'm just creating some texture, and I wanted some texture, and I wanted it to be pretty transparent. So I knew that the sewing pattern paper would work because it had that kind of vintage feel, and I put that down with some fluid matte medium. Now I've got some modeling paste and some gel medium. I've got more gel medium than modeling paste because I want this to be somewhat transparent, and when it dries it will be a little bit transparent. And I wanted to put these metal embellishments down that I'm using. They're Graphic 45 and Finnabar and a couple things that I got from Michael's. So a little bit of random bits and pieces along with some butterflies that I printed out. But I wanted to put these down and have some, and add to that texture, but I didn't want it to be stark white. And so I could have gone in with some of that sepia, but I wanted some contrast. And so that's why I added a little bit of teal, and the teal will tone it down in just a minute. But it adds that bit of contrast and pop and really accentuates the pieces that I'm putting down and highlights the darkness of the background as well. So now I've got another one of Donna's itty bitty stamps that I just love. Those sayings are fantastic. And just some scrap paper. And I'm going to put that down with some more of that mixture of gel medium and sepia, high flow. That's the high flow sepia. This makes such a beautiful, beautiful glaze and glue, and I just love this mixture of gel medium and high flow sepia color. It just tones everything down and gives it this really soft, aged, yummy feel. Now that I've got everything down, I'm just putting those, they're just so cool, these rusty wire pieces. Oh, I just love them. Now, there always needs to be just a tiny bit of contrast, and that's what that white is doing. And I didn't want it to be full on those white drops. So I dried them a little bit and got them a little dry, and then just went back in and picked up the majority of the paint and left kind of just the shadow of those dots. Just some shading and some final touches on this piece, and we will call it good. So we've created two really great pieces today with yupo. Fun, and it's a really great way to show you that you can use your yupo in almost any application as long as you get a good seal on it with your matte medium. I hope you enjoyed today's projects. If you did, give me a like and subscribe, and I will see you back next week for some more fun projects with yupo. I hope you have a great day.